Thank you for joining us. It is Wednesday, the 30th day of November, 2011. This is Infowars Nightly News. I am your host and narrator, Alex Jones. I want to thank you all for watching. I want to thank you all for subscribing to InfoWarsNews.com and PrisonPlanet.tv. Truly the front lines in the information war. Truly the front lines of teleprompter-free, globalist propaganda-free news and information. Our goal is liberty and freedom and empowering the human species to greater forms of security and freedom and everything that is good and wholesome. Basically, we're diametrically opposed to the eugenicists who hate humanity and are a collection of psychopathic control freaks who compete with each other to engage in greater crimes and sins against humanity. We did an incredible interview earlier today with Stewart Rhodes, the founder of Oath Keepers, constitutional law scholar from Yale, award-winning researcher who wrote a 2004 paper dealing with martial law scenarios and enemy combatant status for the American people. And it's become prescient in light of the new National Defense Authorization Act that the media, again, ran another hoax. First, they said that it didn't affect citizens, and they admitted it did. Secret arrest, disappear into a black hole. No judge, no jury, no proof. Citizens now being killed by the military to operate openly in America. They've been eating around the edges of that for a while, but now it's here.
But really, you should see this as a declaration of war against the American people. That's how we should see it. We need to stop this right now. If we don't, Alex, I do believe that there will be no recourse except another revolution. Otherwise, we are going to be lost. We will be put in the same position as the Founding Fathers were in 1775. They have taken off the mask and told us, I mean, they could do it to your kids. There's no age limitation in this bill. They could take your children away and take them to Guantanamo.
The media then said last night it had passed, and this morning I'm like, well, it's passed. I should have not believed them, because it turns out it hasn't passed. It's passed out of committee. It's passed and not had amendments to strip the police state provisions out, but it's not done yet. And even if they implement this, that is the passage of the bill, they still have to actually carry out the full implementation, which will only serve to wake up the people that much more. So Stewart Rhodes is coming up, and then also we're going to have a financial expert on to break down what's happening in the economy after that. Ted Anderson and his maiden voyage here at Infowars Nightly News. That said, Rand Paul came out, the video's up at Infowars.com, an article we did on it, and pointed out that Americans could be sent to Gitmo under indefinite detention. And he went on to say that how are the American people going to like seeing military checkpoints in America? He says, I wonder how Americans will feel when they see troops in the streets on a regular basis, something no one now living has seen since it ended the last time in 1876. And it was illegal before that, but during Reconstruction after the Civil War, it was still carried out, so they had to pass another law saying you will not do this. Third world countries have troops in the streets. North Korea has troops in the streets. Mexico. This is not what a free society has. But even in Mexico, on the books, they can't detain you for life with no trial. North Korea at least has a kangaroo trial. I mean, this is beyond North Korea. Beyond North Korea. I mean, Mexico is like a wonderland of freedom compared to North Korea. Could it be that soon America will be less free than Mexico or even North Korea? If we let these tyrants do it, yes, that is the case. Now, I want to shift gears into torture. If you think that's bad enough, first they tried under John Yoo and Alberto Gonzalez, under George W. Bush, to say that buried alive, pulling fingernails out, beating people's children in front of them. John Yoo wrote in the memos, and it made national news, that they could crush a child's testicles. Crush a child's testicles in front of their parents to make them answer questions, and that's not torture. Waterboarding, any of it, it's all wonderful. It's what George Washington was all into. Hey, the North Vietnamese, when they tortured our troops, they weren't so bad. Joseph Mengele, the Nazis, they weren't so bad. You know, why are all the bad guys in movies, doing this? We're going to go back to this history of it here and replay that in a minute. I'm going to narrate what you just saw on screen for a second. But, here's the quote by the ACLU: "A Middle Eastern dictatorship has more democratic accountability for abuse of power, including torture, than the U.S. under Obama." And now the ACLU and 30 other organizations, including Ron Paul, have sent a letter to the Senate asking them to oppose an effort in Congress that threatens to revive the use of torture and other inhumane interrogation techniques, which give you false confessions and are the hallmark of a fallen police state society. And, of course, Rand Paul is also fighting that as well. But now they're not even denying that they are involved in torture. Now they're going, okay, we are torturing and we want to legalize it. So it's quite a descent into tyranny. Now, going back to that group of historical graphics, how many times do I have to say it? We're told bad guys torture. The globalists put out these fake al-Qaeda torture manuals to demonize al-Qaeda. They got caught putting it out. But then everything that they show happening to al-Qaeda is actually what our criminal government has been doing, including raping children at Abu Ghraib in front of their parents. That came out in the Army report. And all these so-called good old boys that watch 24 and all these shows where they glamorize it, you are literally being taught to be a psychopathic control freak and to accept torture that's so sexy and powerful and freedom-oriented so it can be used against you. This is a psychological programming to desensitize you, and all of it ties together, and it is wrong. Now, we'll talk more with Stuart Rhodes coming up on this this evening, but clearly when government starts saying it's going to secretly arrest you, and this is the most important thing I'm going to say tonight, so please listen to me. And I've already done the interview with Rhodes. It's incredibly powerful. But I want to be clear here. We're at the crossroads. We're at the decision point, deciding what side you're on. When government is saying it will secretly arrest you, kill you, torture you, do whatever it wants with you for no reason, that is a Hitler, a Stalin, a Mao. Okay? I mean, it's happening here. If they can get away with this, they can get away with anything. And you notice they're getting away with it, taking private accounts, robbing people, corrupt energy deals, fast and furious, and they're trying to threaten us with torture. They're trying to scare us. Now, they claim they're doing it because of al-Qaeda, but al-Qaeda publicly works for the very same banksters and has been given control of North Africa, now being sent into Syria. And a lot of people are going to say, hey, we need to go up physically against this corrupt, illegitimate government. And certainly they've committed more crimes than the Redcoats ever did before our forebears, who FEMA teaches police are terrorists, fought back against it. This idea that government can just do anything to you, that's like saying a black slave can have their feet chopped off because a white owner feels like it. No, in the universe, that person's not a slave. It's a crime to make them a slave. It's a crime to cut their fingers or toes off because they try to run away. Okay, it is a very simple issue. And right over here on the screen, I have an image from the Passion of the Christ, which is very historically accurate, of Christ after the cat o' nine tails, before he had the crown of thorns, before he was hauled up. This is what torture is all about. And every authoritarian, corrupt society glamorizes torture, glamorizes violence, and that's the road that we have gone on. And so I understand that a lot of people are going to say we need to have a conflict with these people. But this is a psyop. If you look at what Gandhi did, he sat there and took the abuse but spoke out against it and illustrated that it was a fraud, and they were able to defeat the British Empire. There's more than one way to skin a cat, basically. And long before we talk about physical confrontation, we need to discuss, what have you done politically? How many websites have you put up in public? How many globalist propaganda events have you disrupted? How many live TV appearances have you crashed? How many city council meetings or legislatures have you gone to? How many highway banner hangs have you done? The power of one person in a city tagging political websites on things is incredible. Just the symbol of V against this occupation spreading everywhere is important. Now, as Alexander Solzhenitsyn said, when the secret police start coming to arrest you and take you off to a FEMA camp and rape and kill your family, you defensively have not just a right, a duty to fight against it. It's just that, yes, very trying times are coming. We're going into a total collapse depression. It's all engineered. They've got paramilitary forces spoiling for a fight. They're going to stage terror attacks to blame it on the American people. We have got to be wise and understand this and work harder than ever while we still have an internet that's free to some extent and systems to reach out to folks, because America is awakening. Congress has a 9% approval rating. The criminals have just dispensed with any pretext of covering up their activity. They're like, oh, you're aware that we're criminals? Well, good, we'll just flaunt it. They're trying to hide it in plain view and just acclimate everybody. All of you have to be the leaders you are now and get the word out in local newsletters, talk your own local radio show, Access TV, YouTube videos, large, small. Get the word out about what's happening. The globalists know the power of the people, so first they lie and say the citizens aren't in these horrible bills. Then they say, okay, the bill's already passed, and fool people, and fooled me for a few hours. They try all sorts of tricks, but their tricks are running out and people are getting wise to them, okay? All I'm saying is the globalists stage events and want violence for a reason. They think that's a ball game they can win early on. They know they're running out of time with us peacefully exposing them. Every day we continue to get the word out, we are reaching millions of more people. And I like the analogy Stuart's going to use later of what happened in '89 with East Germany. People tried to climb over the wall, the military would just shoot them. Finally, one day, the military just stood down and wouldn't do it anymore. That's what we're hoping for. The main communist leadership didn't know that they had no support, just like Ceausescu in Romania. That's what we want. I have lived long enough, I've been violent enough to know it's not fun, it's not macho, it's not something I'm looking for. If I've got to fight, I will. You better believe it. You better believe it. And once the switch is thrown, ladies and gentlemen, there's no turning back. There's a lot of provocateurs out there that want this. There's also a lot of great people that know the tyranny and who have the courage to go ahead and get ready for physical confrontation. We've got to restrain ourselves. We've got to restrain ourselves, and we've got to do everything we can, as our forebears did. Over 15 years of incredible abuse. In some cases, more intense than what we're seeing right now. Okay, I want to go ahead and get to the rest of the news, but there's a lot we can do now. For those of you, a lot of you, it's a cop-out to talk about, well, we'll just have a revolution. Yeah, we'll just stockpile guns and live in the country and we'll have a revolution someday. Have the revolution by growing your own garden. Have a revolution by knocking on doors. Have a revolution by going to Access TV in a town 50 miles away if you have to and getting on television or getting your own local radio show. Don't know how? Try it. Make some phone calls. You should go through a lot of effort first. I saw this coming 17, 18 years ago. I took action against it. I saw it coming 1,000 miles away. Now it's 5 inches away. I put a lot of energy in it. Look what we've done. Look how far the Ron Paul movement's come. We've got to work now. I'm pleading with you. You've got to do everything you can now to wake up as many people as you can. And then if it goes violent, we've got a lot better chance of nipping these guys in the bud quickly, having the government people that are mid-level turn against them. In fact, I was going to get to this later, but here's an article. Well, I'm not going to make them skip ahead. I'm going to get to it in a second. It just ties into this. Ron Paul has the majority of military support. He has the majority of government support. And Bloomberg says, give this guy money and then he'll fire you is the name of the article. I'm going to cover it in a moment. But they're saying the government employees are idiots. No, they're not. They're in the inside. They know the truth. They know Ron Paul's right. And they know there's not going to be any government soon if we totally collapse. This is unsustainable. But they skew it. He has the most military and most government donations because they know what's going on. And Bloomberg Business Week attacks them over this. So we have a lot of friends in corporate America, in government, across the board who are quietly working to hold this back. Okay? I mean, it's not going to hurt the New World Order if we have some idiotic shooting war with the government. I mean, a bunch of phony, tough, and crazy brave people. That's not going to hurt the New World Order. Getting rid of the Federal Reserve,